Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Talking with T. I'm your host, Chris Tatarian, and today we're going to be talking about facing challenges amongst the presence of expectation. We're going to be talking about being one of the main faces of Middle Eastern Street Fighter, and we're also going to talk about the current state of Street Fighter 6. The past episode, you saw me go into that a little bit with Amjad, AngryBird, and today I'm going to be doing that with his brother, the one and only Big Bird. Big Bird, welcome to the show, man. It's good to have you, brother.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me, Chris. It's a pleasure, and hopefully, we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, we're going to have some really deep conversations today. But as always, I wanted to first ask you about your upbringing in the Middle East. I had mentioned this as well with Amjad, that I'm Middle Eastern. I know what it's like to have Middle Eastern parents. So I'm curious as to see how your upbringing was, and if we relate on that, I'm sure a lot of your audience will relate to it as well. And I want to also get into how we actually met each other. But let's talk about your upbringing first, and then I'll go into how we met each other in Street Fighter.
Okay, so first I started, I started playing, Street Fighter 4, pretty much like how everyone started. Just as a hobby, just something fun to do, just something to enjoy, and then your free time and all that. So when I started, I was in school. I think it was high school, or was it grade 10? Somewhere between that. Like it was around late 2011, early 2012. And I started going to tournaments, local tournaments and all. So it was just more for fun, more for casual thing for me. And when I went to my first tournament, I enjoyed, the adrenaline it brings you, the hype, the tension, and everything. And it was fun. I really liked it, and I was looking forward to more. Um, Back then, I had no idea I'll be, traveling, competing, doing this for a living, and all of that, because it was just the idea was so far out of my
Yeah.
head that I didn't even think about it. And yeah, I was studying, and I went to university. I was still studying university. My main thought that day was just to do this as a hobby. Once I finish university, then obviously I have my degree. I'll start working a normal job and all of that. But that didn't happen, obviously.
What was your degree in? What were you studying in the university at the time?
I was studying environmental health and safety.
Okay.
So I was following on my dad's footsteps. So my dad is a safety engineer,
Okay.
and he's the one that actually recommended to do health and safety because it's very much on demand. Uh, you can work pretty much everywhere, any place, any project, any company requires a guy in safety. So it was actually really on demand. So I was like, okay. And he told me it wasn't that hard. I was first civil engineer, but when I was civil engineer, there was a drawing course, and I really suck at drawing.
Yeah,
So
okay.
when I asked the guys who were like, seniors in engineering and all of that, they told me there will be a lot more drawing to come. And
Mm,
as soon as I heard that, I was like, nope, I'm switching right now.
yeah.
Mind you, that was like the first semester. So I'm really glad I switched. Yeah, I'm really glad I switched because if I hadn't switched and I stayed with civil engineer, it would probably took a lot of my time. I wouldn't even be thinking about traveling or competing or staying, uh, keep honing my level of the game and all of that. So I'm really glad I switched because that gave me a, a lot of opportunity, a lot of room to focus also on Street Fighter and improving my game and also traveling.
So yeah, keep going. You're in university right now, so you're making this decision.
Yeah, so I joined the university I think in 2015 because I graduated from high school in 2014. So I joined the university in 2015. 2015, I went to my first tournaments were Southeast Asia Major in Thailand. That was back in Street Fighter 4,
Yeah.
and I didn't do too good there. And after that, I went to DreamHack in Sweden. It was the last premiere ever for Street Fighter 4. I'm glad I went there because it was a really nice experience, and I got to experience traveling in SF4 for a bit before we move on to SF5. Back then, I was still in university, so I was really, really relying on, you know, how you have in university have like 7, 8 absences they can use before you're kicked out of class or you're in danger of getting kicked out of class.
Correct.
So I was saving my absences to travel to travel to tournaments, and usually our weekend before that was Friday, Saturday, and you know how the weekend everywhere was Saturday, Sunday. So I had to use Sunday, Monday, and possibly Tuesday as 3 days of absences every
Okay.
time I traveled. Yeah, if it's a tournament to Europe, I would go Sunday, Monday, and sometimes I would make it back at like 6 a.m. on Tuesday and go to class. If I had a class at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., I would go to class right after if I can't afford to to be absent. So that's how I was navigating through my university. Sometimes I had to study in the plane if I have an exam the next day. Sometimes I had to study in the plane, download the notes and the classes and presentations and study on the plane on the way back.
That sounds almost identical to the experience that I had because I was also in college, and going to Wednesday night fights meant that I would come back from Wednesday night fights and go straight to class at 7 o'clock because I had labs in the mornings on Thursdays. So uh, that was not a fun time period. And then also you have to stress about school and making sure you're passing. So wait, did you actually end up graduating university as well, or did
Yeah,
the
yeah.
street fighting?
I finished my university. I have the degree. I was in 2019, summer 2019. That's when I graduated from university.
Oh yeah, congratulations on that because a lot of people aren't able to do that, man. And I'm glad that you have that safety net as well. I mean, obviously you have such an amazing career in Street Fighter and fighting games, but now in case anything happens, you can fall back on something that you know will provide you with stability, and that's very important because I feel like it makes your Street Fighter play better, knowing that if that doesn't work out, then I'm okay in life and I can support myself and a potential future family, right?
Exactly. I always believed in Plan Bs, just in case this Street Fighter thing didn't work out. I have something to fall back on. I even could afford to do masters and get potentially higher job offerings and everything.
Yeah.
But thankfully, it's working. The Street Fighter career is working well, and I think that's what my dad wanted as well. He didn't want me to focus on gaming only because at that time gaming was really small in the Middle East. It wasn't as big as it is now. So back then he was like, I don't care what you do with your gaming thing, whether you travel, whether you play or whatever, as long as you focus on your studies and you finish your studies, you can do whatever you want. As long as you don't let go of the studies.
Yeah, my dad was the same way once he started seeing me travel and seeing the tournaments and the lifestyle. He was like, okay, well, as long as you finish up college and be able to set yourself up with a plan B, then I'll support you with this. And just like uh, what Amjad said as well, like having the parental support, Adil, is it's monumental for anyone that's looking for
It
a
is.
career
It is.
in fighting games or just video game profession, because a lot of parents don't approve of it, and a lot of older like Middle Eastern cultural parents will not understand it. But having a mom and dad that can put their trust in you and really be behind your back, that allows you to even play better, right? Like, didn't you just start
Yeah.
feeling better when you knew mom and dad were supporting me?
Yeah, of course. Because imagine every time you turned on the game at home and your dad just comes in and tells you, "Yo, stop playing, go study or something."
Yeah.
Like, how would you exactly feel about that? You wouldn't feel too encouraged to play. You would feel like you're letting your parents down and everything. But thankfully, I had the support of my parents. They were like, as long as you do your studies, you can do whatever you want on the side.
Yeah.
But I think it became they weren't taking it serious back then. I think it became more serious when I started actually making money out of it. So as long as I was making money out of it, my dad was fully okay with it. My mom still tells me from time to time, like, when are you gonna actually work? And I tell her, I am working. I mean, if I keep telling her this, if I go work in my degree right now, I would go work in like offshore in the desert or something, 6 days a week. Don't come back home until like the weekend for one day, and I would be working 8 9 hours under the sun in the desert, and I will be making only like $900 if I'm lucky, $1,000 a month. I'm like, why would I leave something that's making me good money and go work in a job that's acceptable by society. Like, I mean, back then at least. I told her it doesn't make sense. Like, I'm really throwing out something that's working really well so far, and go work a normal job just to satisfy, society. I'm like, no, I'm not. Yeah, and it's something I love doing. And I'm like, why would I go work and be miserable just to satisfy, just to look okay
Yeah,
within the
society.
society?
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
the typical Middle Eastern, oh, this person's son is a doctor, that person's son is a doctor. Well, that person's, well, it's like, fuck, I'm not that person's son. Like I'm me, and I
exactly.
don't care what that person is doing. Like I am having the most fun in my life, and understanding how fragile life is and how at any minute it can end for you. I'd rather me be doing something that I'm having fun in and enjoying my day than to be miserable at it. Now, with that being said, there's also situations where you have to do what you have to do sometimes. You have to work a miserable job. You have to sacrifice your own happiness sometimes. But I think for those specifically, we're talking about the youth who are listening to us right now, the ones that are entering college or are in college. It doesn't hurt for you to uh, finish out that degree and be able to pursue a career in the future and have that safety net. Because look, I was able to do it. Adel was able to do it, and it just required a lot of sacrifice, right? It's not easy,
Yeah,
bro.
of
It's not
course.
easy because studying, you're sacrificing your Street Fighter time. You have to sacrifice school time. You're not learning the way that you need to. It's so much pressure, but that pressure is good for you because it builds character, and
It
I
builds
feel,
discipline as well.
yeah, it builds discipline. Like, oh, we can go so deep into this, but I want to take a second here and talk about my recent partnership with Johnny Fraze and his 4TW Fight Sticks. You can see it right here. It is a beautiful stick. I used to play on the traditional Vulix Fight Sticks, the TEs, my whole life. If you know anything about me, you know that I suffered a lot from tendonitis, pain in my wrists, my fingers, and it was all because of my controller not being ergonomic enough for my hands. And this is by far the best controller I've ever used. It is very comfortable on my hands. It allows me to also execute things that are rather difficult to do in Street Fighter 6. I used to have the parry button on the all punch button, and I used to have the drive impact button on the all kicks button, the button that is all the way to the right on the bottom. And it was very difficult for my pinky to switch from those two buttons depending on the situation. But now that I have the thumb parry here, it's way more comfortable on my hand, and overall my shoulders as well. So if you're interested in a hitbox or a fight stick or any type of layout that you want, Johnny Fraze is your guy. Okay, 4TW Fight Sticks. Make sure you check out johnnyfraze.com to start your 4TW Fight Stick project, and use my affiliate code ChrisT4TW. That's ChrisT4TW, all one word, all capitalized. I guarantee you, you'll find more success within the game, and you'll feel a lot more comfortable with playing for more hours. This fight stick is godlike. Okay, speaking of discipline, you got second place at Evo in 2019. And a lot of people don't understand the level of discipline it takes to be able to get to that final stage. I'm not talking about simply the work ethic of training hard and all of that. I'm talking about the mental discipline, the calmness you need to have as you're making your run from top 16 and you make top 8 at an Evo, and then you truly start believing in yourself and you win, and then you get to something like grand finals. That takes so much mental discipline to be able to stay calm throughout that process. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts during that Evo, and then how you felt after getting second place to Bonchan, because a lot of people, including myself, would go into a dark state of mind from something like that. And I did when I got 9th place at Capcom Cup 2018. I went into a very dark place mentally. So yeah, please shed some light on that situation.
So 2019, I started out. I went to obviously my first tournament in 2019 was Brussels Challenge. It was a ranking event, so I went and I got 4th place there. I was like, okay, good start, not bad. Could do better, but still not bad. We take what we have. And then I went to Combo Breaker, CEO, and versus Fighting, all 3 premiers. So Combo Breaker, I lost to Punk and Haitani. I got 9th place there, and 9th place really, really sucks. But because it was the regular Pro Tour season, even if you get 9th place, you still get points. So
you got a
I
lot
was
of
like,
points.
okay, at least, yeah, at least I got some points. Like I could have gone further, but at least I got points. Fast forward to CEO, I think I got like 33rd, so not much points I have there. Versus Fighting, I got, I think it was 17th or 13th. And then I went to Evo and I was like, okay, my record in Premier so far has not been the best. And obviously Evo is considered to be the hardest tournament, the hardest Premier event out of them all. So I'm like, am I really gonna do well here, or am I just gonna, fumble it like I fumbled the last 3 Premier events? So I went in. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna play. I didn't have much expectations out of myself. I did not say, okay, I'll make top 8 today. There was basically no eyes on me. And here's the thing about me: if there's no eyes on me, and everyone's just talking about this guy and the other guy, like Takedo, Punk, Itazan, whatever, Problem X, these guys. When I have no eyes on me, I feel like I play a lot better. And sometimes the pressure gets to me when there's a lot of eyes on me. So I went to Evo. I was prepared. I finished the first day, 0 games lost. I finished the second day. The second day obviously is when you'll make top 8 or not, right? So I started out well. I started out beating pretty much everyone 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 until I ran into Phenom, I ran into Ryusei, and Ryusei, mind you, Ryusei actually took me out. He eliminated me from versus Fighting, which was 2 weeks before Evo. So he eliminated me versus Fighting, and I'm like, okay, I remember a couple of things that Ryusei did, and I'm just gonna focus on them now. One of them was basically Ryusei used to love to do with Urian, used to love to whiff crotch light kick, like randomly in the neutral, and then just dash forward. And another thing I kept in mind is I will never let him activate V-Trigger, because every time he activated V-Trigger, he just came back and versus Fighting. So I had those 2 things in mind, and I focused on them, and I managed to beat Ryusei 2-0. So my run was basically all 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 until I got to top 32, and I had to face Kichipa. Kichipa also I think he made top 8 that same year as well. So I played Kichipa and I lost. I think I lost the first game. And I'm like, oh shit, is this gonna be it? And then thankfully I held my composure and I beat him 2-1. After that, top 16 winners side, I was like, okay, when you get to top 16 winners side, you're either gonna do really well or you're either gonna fumble it really bad and you go 0-2 and just get 9th place. So I'm like, okay, this is a difficult situation. And who was my opponent that day? It was Idom. And Idom in 2019, that's when he started obviously traveling more, started doing well, and obviously was the champion of that year of Capcom Cup. So I'm like, I guess Idom, Rashid, Laura, I was like, okay, I have experience in this matchup.
Yeah, not too terrible of a matchup.
Yeah, it's not too terrible. I have experience in this matchup. And let's see how it goes. So I won the first game, and then Idom just came back and he won 2 straight. And I'm like, oh my god, I got sent to losers in top 16, and
it's a bloodbath.
Yeah, exactly. I was watching players get eliminated. I was watching Momochi get eliminated. I was watching in top 16 losers. I was watching Momochi get eliminated. I was watching Problem Mix get eliminated. I'm like, is this gonna be my turn now? And you know when you're waiting for your match and you see everyone, all the top players like losing, eliminated, upsets, all of that, and you see the emotions, you see the sadness, you see the regret, and you see the anger and all that, and you're like, how do I not like get to, how do I stop seeing this from getting to me, because I could be them as well in a couple of minutes. So who was my opponent that day? I was watching their matches. It was Fudo and Nemo playing, and whoever wins gets to play me. So in my mind, I was like, bro, this is basically just pick your poison scenario. It's Fudo or Nemo. There's no one that's going to be easier for me. And Fudo at that time was playing Birdie, not Mika. If it was Mika, it would be a bit easier. But he was playing Birdie. And Birdie was actually really strong that season. And then on the other hand, it was Nemo. Obviously, you never want to face Nemo in a 2 out of 3 situation, especially for an EVO top 8. So what happened was Fudo won. I'm like, okay, this is my chance. If I fumble it, I don't know what I'll do to myself. But as soon as I heard that, before I was watching the match, as soon as I heard I'll play the winner of that, I went in, grabbed the Red Bull, drank it, and went into my match against Fudo already. So what happened was the first game, I lost against Fudo. And as soon as I lost the first game, I'm like, bro, is this gonna be it? Is this how my run gonna end? 9th place? I'm like, okay, wait. I went back to character select screen. I composed myself. I went in, and thankfully I won that set. And that set actually meant a lot to me, because I didn't want to finish Street Fighter 5, or at least, play for 4 years or 3 years and not get an EVO top 8 medal. So I was like, okay, this is my chance. I'm the closest I've ever been. Let's lock in, basically. And I managed to come back and beat him 2-1. It was kind of close set. I don't know if it's still on YouTube, but it was a kind of a close set. And as soon as I won, all the emotions came to me. And who did I find? As soon as I won, I was like, I literally went down because there was a lot of emotions. And as soon as I went down on my stick, I found AngryBird coming up to the stage and hugging me. I mean, I think there's a picture there that was it Stephanie that Stephanie took.
Yeah.
And that moment like meant a lot to me, because it was like that was my chance, and thank God I did not fumble it.
Okay, so I'm curious here. Pause right there. When you went back to character select, you said that you composed yourself. Was it either I'm going to be thinking about what I can adapt to what Fudo is doing right now? What am I missing in the strategy? Or was it more so of, hey, stay calm, breathe, more of the mental side? Was it more so mechanical in the game, what's going on with adaptations, or more so you just needed to breathe? And walk me through that process if you can remember.
No, yeah, I just needed to breathe. That's it. I mean, I played the Birdie matchup a lot. I know the Birdie matchup with Rashid. I think, and I was like, okay, let's just calm down. I still have one more game left. Calm down, breathe, and go in with a fresh mind. Like stop thinking about, okay, if this is my chance. If I lose, I'm out. I'm never gonna make top 8 again, and all of that. I was like, okay, let's just focus. Look into this match alone. Think of it as just any other normal match that you play with nothing on the line, and just go in. And I guess it worked, because there was not much to think about in the game. Because, I mean, when you play against Birdie, sometimes all it takes is just literally, 2 guesses and you lost. Or like 1 whiff punish, he got it. Command grab, you're already down half your health. So there was not much mechanical things to think about. But I was just more so composed, relaxed myself. And, I was like, okay, just leave everything aside. All I got to do is just beat him. Because, first of all, as a competitor, you just want to beat your opponent.
Yes.
Regardless of whether there's something on the line, $1 million on the line, nothing on the line. And me, personally, I don't come from a money match culture,
Yes.
So even if you play with me with $0 on the line, I will still do my best to beat you. And I wouldn't want to lose to you. And I feel like that probably came in handy, because I was able to play and compose myself to thinking there's nothing on the line, and relax myself and play my game, basically. Just play my game. And I feel like that came in handy.
So you make top 8. and then walk me through the night before, how you slept, and your performance, what you were thinking when
That's
you
the
got to
thing.
the grand final.
That's the thing. How you slept, I actually got 0 hours of sleep that day.
Yeah.
So what happened was, and during Evo, basically the second day, I in the previous tournaments I used to get tired during like in the middle of the tournament, and I just sometimes crash. So what I did with Evo was, as soon as I felt tired, I just grabbed a Red Bull and drank it, recharged myself. So what happened there was, I think I took two, three, maybe four Red Bulls during the day. And at that time, I wasn't working out, so the concept of caffeine was abnormal to me. Like, back then, I was like, okay, one Red Bull is enough to recharge you. Like right now, if you ask me, because I work out, right now, if you ask me, like caffeine is, I can drink 2 or 3 Red Bulls and it would give me a normal effect.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you work out, caffeine is basically your main source of energy. So you try to you know recharge yourself a lot before workout, like pre-workouts, stuff like that. So that back then, it was the concept of caffeine was just one Red Bull and that's it. So I drank like 3 or 4 Red Bulls, and the adrenaline, the hype, the excitement, the happiness of making top 8 and all of that. I think all of that literally came into my body at once, and I could not sleep. You can ask AngryBird as well. He was with me in the room,
Yeah.
and every time he woke up in the middle of the night, he just sees me still awake, and he tells me, "What are you doing? Go to sleep. You have top 8 tomorrow." And I'm like, "I can't, I can't sleep. I tried, I couldn't."
Yeah.
So, and top 8, the third day was at 1 p.m. So it got to the point where it got to 9 a.m. or like 10 a.m. And obviously it was too late to sleep. And I'm like, okay, fuck it. We'll just go and just run through it without sleep. So what I did was, before I went to the venue, I think our call time was like 10, 10:30, 11, something like that. I went and I grabbed coffee from Starbucks, and I went, and obviously I drank it, and I was like, okay, it's time to. I mean, it's almost showtime, so let's just get it together. I stopped thinking about whether I had no sleep or whatever, and I went to the top 8 with actually 0 hours of sleep, just caffeine and determination, just do well.
Yeah.
So top 8, let's just fast forward to top 8. My first opponent in loser side was none other than Yang Mian. I don't know if you remember him. But he was a Chinese Zeko player.
Okay.
He beat Momochi to make top 8. And I'm like, okay, the first match is not bad. It's Zeko. Who plays Zeko? AngryBird.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of experience against Zeko. So I'm like, okay, this is very doable. I went in, I beat him 3-1. And there's something to understand about when you play on a big stage, or when you play in a tournament or whatever. If you get past the first game of that day, that will determine how your performance is going to be, right?
Yeah.
So I went in, I played really good against Yang Mian. I beat him, so I started getting the momentum now. And after Yang Mian, who did I play? I had to play Machabu. Now, Machabu, I was super, super scared. Not super scared, but I was like, okay, this is the only guy I did not want to face in that whole top 8.
Dangerous.
Yeah, and my record versus him in casuals was like 100-0 to him, like 100% win to him, 0% to me. I could not beat him in any set, even when I was in Japan. So I'm like, oh, shit. Even AngryBird messaged me that day and was like, bro. Was like, yeah, he's like very unlucky because he also knew what Machabu was, Machabu was like. Even though it was still a good matchup for Rashid, but for some reason, I could not beat that guy at all.
Yeah.
So I went in against him, and I'm like, okay, screw it. I'll just play my game, do whatever. And casuals is one thing, tournament sets is another. And that was when Machabu just lost to Infectious in winner's side. So I'm like, okay, I'll bank on that. I have the momentum. He's coming from a hard loss.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I have the advantage here. I have the mental advantage here. I got nothing to lose. He has a lot to lose because he was in a good position to win the tournament. He just went down to top 8 in a tough loss against Infectious. I'm like, okay, I have the mental advantage here. Let's see what happens. So I went in. I was up 2-0, and the last round, at the last game, I felt like he was coming back. I'm like, shit, if I let him win this game, I'm done. He's gonna come back 3-2 and beat me. So I was like, he started the game. He won one round. I won one round, and in the last round, he stunned me. He was basically fucking me up, right? I had like almost zero health left, and he had a lot of health. It was like 70-80%. But I had to make a comeback. And the way I made the comeback was, I think he jumped, and for some reason his jump whiffed, and he got back thrown into the corner. And that's how every comeback started in SF5. You get accidentally back thrown into the corner.
Yeah.
And getting back thrown into the corner against Rashid is tough. So I back threw him into the corner. And I remembered when I played them in the mix-up, it was a tournament in Leon, and he beat me. I remember the last round, I wanted to, literally same scenario. I wanted to get a comeback, and he walk up jab against me. And that wake up jab basically killed me. So I'm like, okay, I remember that day that when he's up a lot and he's comfortable, he's gonna wake up jab. I remember that. So I back through him and I did dash, stand media punch, EX whirlwind. It counter hit him, and I was right. Counter hit him. I got a big combo. And after that, I delayed my throw in case of a DP. I back through him. He took the throw. And then I just dashed full screen, dashed into him, and then EX Eagle.
Oh my
and that
God.
EX Eagle stunned him. Yeah. That was a very big risk. Super big, because obviously if he blocked the EX Eagle, I was dead.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, he's close to stun. It's the last round. He wants to win. So he's either going to backdash, jump, or delay throw. And I just dashed full screen against him, or like half screen, and just EX Eagle, and he threw. EX Eagle beat his throw, and I stunned him, and I won the round. So I'm like, okay, clean 3-0 for me.
Okay, hold on. I want people to understand the complexity of the decision making that was done at that moment. Because, bro, you did a back throw into dash EX Eagle Spike, right?
Yeah.
The thought process, bear with me here. The thought process from when you did back throw to dash to Eagle Spike happened in, let's say, less than 0.5 seconds.
Literally, yes.
Around that time frame, 0.5 seconds because you weren't thinking about it when you did the back throw. Like you didn't do the back throw to set him up for the dash.
No.
Eagle. Thought spawned after the back throw and like a few frames into you committing to the dash, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Basically, what happened was the back throw was not supposed to happen. I delayed. You know when you expected DP and you delay throw against him.
Yes.
So that's what happened. I delayed my back throw, and he took the throw, and I'm like, shit. He's close to stun. He was like literally one hit away from stun, and I'm like, bro, how? He's obviously gonna be scared now. He doesn't want to get hit. Even a light kick would have stunned him. So obviously he's not gonna do anything. He's not gonna backdash. He's just gonna sit there and try to block. So I'm like, okay, this is my chance now. I can go for a super hard read, or I can play it safe and just try to stun him with a light kick or whatever. And I'm glad I didn't go for the safer option, because I was up 2-0 and he was close to elimination. So he's the one that's scared, not me. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a big leap here. I backed him, and when I dashed, that's when the thought of EX Eagle Spike came in.
The reason why
As
I'm
soon as I
highlighting
dashed-
this. Yeah, go ahead.
As soon as I dashed and I got close to him, I'm like, how do I stun him here? I can't dash and throw him. He might backdash and he might tech my throw. So I'm like, okay, I can do one thing that's gonna beat both, which is Eagle Spike. EX Eagle Spike is gonna beat throw, and it's gonna beat backdash. So I'm like, okay, screw it. I'll take a big leap here and try it. If it works, I won. If it doesn't work, I still have 2 more games. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I back through him. I dashed, and obviously Machabu was really scared because one touch and he was stunned and he was eliminated after that.
Yeah.
So I played into that as well, and I just took a big leap. The decision literally came when I dashed. It didn't even come from the back throw. It came when I back threw him. I looked at the stun, and then I dashed, and that's when the thought came to EX Eagle spike him.
The reason why I'm highlighting this is because I want the audience to understand the incredible computing that players make at this level. Because typically, when a top player has a thought that spawns inside of their mind to commit to something for an action, whether it be forward, walk back, button, whatever it may be, what follows that thought is typically a second thought, an analysis of the original thought. Should I commit to this? Is this thought process going to help me win, or is this too safe, too risky, etc., etc.? But
that's something I want to talk about.
Yes.
Before we continue any further.
Yeah.
That's something I want to talk about. The minute you start saying, "Oh, is it too safe? Oh, is it not? Is it gonna work?" No. The minute you second guess yourself, that's when you pretty much lost your chance. You know the reason why Mena and AngryBird are so good and like currently, it's because they play on instinct. And I believe what I was playing on that day at EVO 2019, it was solely based on instinct. I was not trying to play too much into logic, too much into, okay, is it safe? No, it's not safe, so I'm not gonna. No, if I had the feeling it's gonna work, I would go for it. I would not second guess myself. That's the reason why Mena and AngryBird are so good, especially in tournament, is because they are heavily instinct-based players. They know when to turn off the logic and go based on how they're feeling.
Exactly. So the reason why I was saying that was because, like, I wanted to break down the different situations. So as I was saying before, when you have the original thought, it's followed by a second thought to assess if it's logical or not. And then it usually leads to the commitment. But that is part of the 90% logical in your gameplay. But then there's also a 10% guts in your gameplay that you need to be able to turn on and off. So I completely agree with you when you say that Mena and AngryBird, they're very instinct-based players. Their percentages are probably a bit different because of how confident they are in their decision-making and how good they are at the pattern recognition. I'm saying usually from what I grew up with was, oh, you want to have 90% logic to be a solid player, and then the 10% guts in critical moments. And what I'm trying to highlight here is your 0.5 millisecond thought process. It might even be lower than 0.5. But that thought process was in the perfect position for a gutsy commitment. That's when you had the thought and you can't second think it. That is when you trust your instinct. You had the thought and your guts needed to be put on the table. That's when the 10% guts goes in. And your gut thought process essentially like skips the second thought process. I didn't mean gut thought process, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So that's just incredible.
Yeah, so like sometimes I feel like when I'm playing the best in tournament, I feel like I'm mostly playing on my gut feeling. And other time I feel like I'm losing, I'm trying to play more on the logical side. You know, like, okay, this wouldn't work here, so I'm not going to do it. No, this is unsafe, I'm not going to do it. Take one example. Look at Mena versus Haitani from EVO in the last EVO. Look at the comeback he made. He jumped back. He cornered himself. He jumped back, and he was in burnout, so he was within chip kill range. And he did back jump, back fierce, the suppressor, and it beat Haitani's button attempt to chip kill him into level 2. Like, there's no logic that you can apply here where it's going to work.
Yeah.
Like jumping back into the corner and doing suppressor, there's no logical thing that goes into it. There's nowhere
it's suicide.
Where you can
it's
think.
Suicide.
Exactly, yeah. You cornered yourself and then you press a button at the same time. I mean, obviously the button shifts his hurtbox back a bit, but the thought process to think of all of that in literally like 1 or 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Probably even less, and then commit to the level 2. I mean, do level 2, react to level 2 afterwards. That's what separates Mena and AngryBird from the rest. They throw, sometimes when it needed, they throw all the logic out of the window and they trust their gut feeling. And I feel like that's what makes them so dangerous, because it makes them very unpredictable. And it's very hard to fight them in the first to 2 or first to 3 or even in tournaments regardless. And that's what makes them so good in this game, because I feel like this game rewards a lot of instinct based players,
Mm.
and the logical based players are not. They it's kind of hard to apply logic to this game in general because so many things going on. So you have to trust your gut feeling a lot more. And I feel like that's what separates AngryBird and Mena from the rest of the players.
Would you agree that, I mean, would you agree that it should be around 90% logical thinking when you are playing the game and 10% gut decision when it requires the tense moment, guts on the table type of situation? Or because of Mena and Angry Birds a consistent success, you think that the number is a bit more skewed where it's 70-30? Or because you obviously want to have more logical than you want to have guts. You need to be
Of
able
course,
to
yeah.
calculate what you are doing. You cannot just, commit.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you basically what you have to do is you have to throw the logic out of the window when it's necessary. Like
Yes.
obviously, if you don't need to, like if you have a life lead, there's no need to play on instinct because you have the life lead, you're leading. But when it comes to it, whether you're in burnout, whether you're about to lose, whether you're trying to make a comeback and all of that, that's when you need to start activating your instinct, try to make a read. But I also feel like they do play on instinct more, even on, especially on defense, because in defense by logic you should take the throw, right?
Yes.
Or you should try to take the throw, whatever. But sometimes you can see them waking up with jabs when it doesn't make sense, challenging drive rushes, like challenging heavy punch drive rush with the jab or something, pressing after a plus button and all of that. So they do apply their instincts, I feel like a lot more than 10%. But mainly the instinct is applied on defense because I feel like on defense you kind of need your instinct. You can't just play by logic. If you play by logic, that means you're gonna play too safe, and playing too safe in this game makes you a bit easy to read or predict.
Yeah, very passive is bad.
Yeah, very passive is bad. You gotta be active, but you gotta also be smart when you're active. And I feel like that's where the instinct is applied, because you just go with your gut feel. Okay, is he gonna throw there? Is he gonna extend? Is he gonna try to,
Is he gonna neutral drive rush me? Should I neutral drive rush him?
Exactly, yeah. Should I wake up with a low forward? Like this is basically the best example I can give of instinct feeling. It's when your opponent is expecting a DP and you wake up with low forward into special or drive rush or whatever.
Yes.
That's the best example I can give of instinct. It doesn't make sense at all to do a 7-frame normal on your wake up when your opponent is on top of you. It doesn't make sense, but it works a lot of the time because you think your opponent is going to bait your DP or he's going to walk back to shimmy or whatever. So you go with your gut feeling here and just go for it. If it works, it works. It doesn't work, it's whatever. I mean, at least you trusted yourself.
Where would you say your percentage is before we move on? If you had to put a percentage scale.
I feel like I'm more on the logical side, and that's not necessarily good because I feel like it does cost me a lot of game. It does make me a lot easier to read, but it's really something that I can't change manually. It's something that comes to me, at a random moment in the tournament, and a tense moment or whatever. I do apply instincts a lot. Like for example, there was one round where I played against Taquito in Red Bull Kumite, and he knocked me down, and that's it. And I was burned out. I had 2 super bars, but I was burned out, and he had all the meter in the world. So he threw me, and then what he did was dash low forward with Ken. And I was like, okay, this is my chance. If I'm going to do it, I have to do it right here. And I woke up with light kick, light punch, level 2, and that killed him. Wow. So that's one of the moments where I play based on instinct. Because if Taquito did dash jab, that would have beat me. That would have beat my, my button. But he did dash low forward because he thought I was going to walk back.
So then...
What?
Oh, I was going to say, so then you would say you're more so 80-20? Like 80 logic, 20% instinct?
First of all, what's Mena and AngryBird like? Are they 60-40, 70-30,
I would say 60-40. I would say 60-40.
Yeah, so if they're 60-40, I would say probably I'm like, let's say 75-25 at the moment.
25-25, yeah. I'm even worse. I'm pretty much 90-10 or maybe even 95-5. But my logical thinking is also skewed as well because I make very bad decisions sometimes. So I need to be able to learn how to make better decisions and learn how to commit better. And we were talking about offense. Me and Amjad were in the previous episode. So he said a lot of good things that made me think about how I can approach the game offensively. But let's keep going, man. We just went so deep into that moment. Well, how could you not, considering what we're talking about here? Like, people don't know that the complexities of the decision making. It's just rapid fire sometimes, and you're putting your life on the line. So moments like that have to be highlighted. Obviously, you end up losing to Bonchan, and then what was the time like after that? I'm really curious as to what you felt after you lost.
Okay, so my thought process during that Evo was just to make top eight, and I'll be happy. I'll be satisfied because I've never made top eight at Evo before. So when I made top eight, I felt like I accomplished my goal, the goal I came to Evo with. And when I went into the next day, which is the top eight, I'm like, okay, let's see how far I can. I went in with the mindset of let's see how far I can go, not with okay, I can win this or I'm trying to win this. No, it was. I feel like the kind of mindset really shapes up how you play, because when you go in the mindset of let's see how far I can go, then you're playing with less pressure compared to someone who's like I need to win this, or I'm gonna win this, or this is my chance to win this.
Yeah.
So I feel like that made me play a lot better, and my one was basically Yang Mian into Machabu, into Fujimura, into Infectious, and then to Bonchan. So when I got into Bonchan, I was like, okay, I did not expect myself to be at second place, because you know how hard it is to go from top 16 losers to second place. It's super hard. And the run I had was literally Fudo, Yang Mian, Machabu, Fujimura, and then Infectious.
Yeah, it's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, so when I got up to Bonchan, I was like, I started remembering that Bonchan was in this similar position where he was in Grand Finals winner's side and he lost. And he got the reset. I mean, he got reset on and he lost. And it was to Luffy in 2014. So I'm like, I might have the mental advantage here. So I was up 2-0 against Bonchan. I was about to reset the bracket. But for some reason, he woke up that moment and he won three games straight. And there is something that I still regret not doing. When I was up 2-0 against Bonchan, I had a birdie. All right, I had a pocket birdie and I used him before in tournaments, and I was using him before in multiple other matches. But the thought never came to my head to use birdie against Karen, because that match was terrible for Karen, and I could have played it. I could have reached the bracket because Bonchan was locked into Karen.
Yes.
He could not switch because I was up 2-0. So, and AngryBird, I remember AngryBird messaged me on WhatsApp that day when I was playing, and he told me to go birdie, but I did not check my phone that day. I was super focused on the match. I did not check my phone or anything. So he told me to go birdie right after I lost, right after it became 2-1. And I still regret it to this day that maybe if I went birdie and I had 2 games, I could have actually reset the bracket and I could have went in. Because if I reset the bracket, Bonchan would have 100% been destroyed mentally, because he's been in the similar position. And all that thought of failure to win Evo 2014 would have come to him.
Yes.
And I feel like if I won that set and reset the bracket, I was probably gonna win Evo that day. So I stuck with Rashid. The thought of picking birdie never came to my head. And the last round he stunned me, like it was 2-2. Last round he stunned me, and then I woke up with low forward into fireball into super, and that hit him because he tried walking back. And what happened was I activated V-Trigger right away. I had V-Trigger 1 with Rashid. I activated it right away after the super, and it's not really at the best position because you're out of the corner. He's mid-screen. He's got all the space to navigate, And what I thought back then was, okay, if he jumps, he might be dead. Because if he jumps and I do Eagle Spike, I mean, I punish his jump with Eagle Spike, he's going to die. So my thought process was like, no, he's not going to jump. He's going to stay on the ground. And I feel like I'm going to get a couple of chip damage in, and then try to finish him off with a light kick or something. But for some reason, he just jumped back. I did eagle spike. He jumped back and he punished my eagle spike, and he won the round out of it. I'm like, oh my god, did he really jump? Did he really commit to a decision as big as that? But I feel like maybe I don't want to say that's the reason why, but you know how Evo is side to side?
Yes.
Maybe he could have heard the motion into eagle spike. Like if I do any motion into a button, obviously it's gonna be something that comes out of a sheet, and jump back would beat all of it. Like if I do mixer, full screen mixer, jump back would beat it. Eagle, jump back would beat it. So I'm like, maybe he probably did hear something and he reacted with the jump.
The peripheral eye caught it. The peripheral caught it.
Yeah, exactly. I was probably ahead of him. Like I was probably like a bit more into the screen, and he was like behind me. So he could have probably heard or saw or something. But I don't want to say that's the reason why.
No, of course not. But it's just funny.
Because side to side.
Yeah. Side to side has that factor.
That's why I hate playing on arcade stick right now, because side to side, you're playing on arcade stick, you're the one at disadvantage. If you play if your opponent is playing on pad or hitbox, whatever, microbox, snack box, you're the one at disadvantage because the opponent literally can hear anything you're about to do before you do it.
Cheat box.
And it makes it so hard to play. And that's why you've seen Shahai and Evo putting a big box on top of his stick so you can't see. And that's why they invented silent buttons and silent stick and all of this, because to eliminate them. So I feel like having to play arcade sticks side to side while being self-conscious about your inputs so your opponent doesn't hear you, and at the same time trying to play versus the character and reacting to everything, I feel like it's so hard, it's so taxing.
It is.
So I definitely prefer head-to-head. I feel like I can play much comfortable. I can just focus on my game. But if you're playing side to side, you have to use fake buttons. You have to be self-conscious of your inputs. There's a lot to think about when you're playing side to side.
You lost. You weren't too upset then?
No, I wasn't upset, actually. I wasn't upset at all. Obviously at that moment, I wanted to win because I got so far. Might as well try to win it. But after it's all finished, I'm like, second place is not too bad. I got what I accomplished my goal. I accomplished a lot better than what I set myself up for. And, sometimes you just got to take what you have, what you got. You can't be too down on yourself. You can't punish yourself for getting second out of 2,000, 3,000 competitors, You got to take the wins sometimes. You got to look at the bright side. Because if you start looking just at what you didn't achieve, it's all so hard, and you're going to be so hard on yourself, and it's going to make it so hard to play relaxed or to play comfortably or whatever. So you got to take every win you can get.
Well, all those wins that you've gotten have obviously led to you and Amjad being the faces of the Middle Eastern fighting game scene. Obviously, there's Latif as well, and Phenom, and some others that are notable.
But Phenom is not from the Middle East.
He's Middle Eastern. He's Arab, yeah.
But he's the European.
Yeah. So, you guys are, you and Amjad are the faces of the Middle Eastern Street Fighter community. I'm curious as to the types of pressures you felt being the faces, the expectations that come with it, and if there is a specific moment in your career where it was just the hardest mountain to get over. Like, what was a challenging moment having to deal with all of this? Because it's a lot of pressure, and anyone that has been in situations like this before that's listening or has been a competitor can understand the amount of pressure that could be placed on your shoulders.
To be fair, basically when I started traveling, I was literally the only one traveling from the Middle East for any sort of fighting game. So I had no standards to uphold. I had no standards to compete with. I had nothing to. So I was the one setting the standard, and I felt like that made it a lot less pressurable compared to, like, for example, if you live in Japan, or let's say you're in a team like, let's say EcoFox, and you have Tokido with your team, you have Punk with your team, you have Justin Wong with your team. That's when the pressure is so hard to deal with, because you have a standard to compete with.
Yeah.
And they're some of the best players. So if you don't do well and let's say you got third place. Third place is good, right? It's certainly good at stack tournament. But Tokido got first, Justin Wong or Punk got second. You're still gonna feel bad about it because, like, first they're your teammates and they still did much better than you. So I feel like that's when the pressure gets to you. But if you're the one setting the standard, then I feel like you can play with much less pressure. And that's what I felt that day. I mean, those years when I was playing. Right now, it's becoming a bit more difficult because AngryBird is an Evo champ. So I have a standard to compete with right now. But back then, it was a lot easier because I was the one setting the standard. So I don't feel like there was a lot of challenges from that side. I just felt like I had a responsibility, which is to compete, to try to win for myself and then for the team I was representing, for Red Bull also. So I feel like the pressure didn't really come from me being the only face of the Middle East or me being one of the two faces of the Middle East. It came from just pressure, the standards I have for myself, and also the trying to win for my team and for Red Bull as well.
In my episode with Amjad, I had mentioned the moment where Li Joe had told you, "Oh, give this to the better bird," and we used that moment to get into a spiritual conversation about ego and your brotherhood with him. From your perspective, how you just mentioned Amjad won Evo, so now you have to rise to that type of victory as well. The whole better bird situation, what is that like from your perspective, and how do you approach the next few years into your competition in order for you to be able to rise and win an Evo or win a Capcom Cup? Like, what is your mindset like, knowing that, damn, my bro just won Evo, now I also have this same standard, and I almost did it before, but how do you approach that? Because he was very spiritual about the ego and how you guys love each other and support each other, and that he always admits that you're better than he is because he truly believes it. So please go into that.
So I feel like there are years where I happen to be the better bird, and there are years where AngryBird happens to be the better bird. So let's go back to Street Fighter 5, okay? 2017, I mean AngryBird wasn't traveling a lot, but basically I was the face of the Middle East. Fast forward to 2018, I started out being the better one with better results. When I say better birds, it basically means better results.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and then AngryBird won UFA and then won the Premier event, and he qualified to Capcom Cup before me. But I also happened to win Southeast Asia Major in 2018, and I qualified to Capcom Cup. So I was like, okay, there's a bit of competition going on. 2019, I had the better result. I had the edge over AngryBird in terms of results. And then 2020 when Seth came out, AngryBird had much better results compared to me. He basically carried us in SFL. He won the online tournaments over me and all that. 2021, I got us the win for SFL. I think I had the better results in SFL, and I beat him. Did I? No, I did not beat him in online, but it was pretty much Ken was still gotten buffed recently, and I just got back to playing Ken then. So yeah, but I feel like we trade spots every year. 2022 AngryBird was by far the better between us. Having made 5th place at Capcom Cup, he got 4th place in the Saudi tournament. He won the online events. Basically, he had much better results than I did.
Okay.
And then 2023, I started out well by winning Red Bull Kumite, and then he was like, "Okay, I got you." And then he went in and won Evo. Yeah, he won Evo. And he was like, "Shit, how am I gonna compete with this?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So he won Evo, and then he went in to win FAF Cup, and then he went into to carry us to have the best results in SFL, the last SFL, and I feel like it just goes on from there. And then Gamers 8, he got 2nd, I got 4th. So there was like, it's a healthy competition between us. Like, him winning or basically just doing well does not necessarily put a lot of pressure to him. But It just means that if he can do it, then I can do it as well because we're practice partners, we're training partners. I mean, obviously, we don't play the same characters, so you could have limitations in terms of that. You could run into a bad matchup while he gets to run into more good matchups compared to you. So there's a bit of limitations in that. But I do feel like having your training partner win Evo or just doing well overall, it doesn't necessarily create pressure for me, but it actually inspires me to do better. Because if he can win it, then it's very possible for me too.
But he won it by playing against you. So that means that you are capable of winning it too, because he's playing against you.
Yes, we practice a lot together. So
so technically, you're the Evo champ. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm not gonna take that.
I know, I'm not.
So the whole better bird, when Li Joe said give it to the better bird.
Yeah.
I did not get offended by that. I mean, it was actually funny. What offended me about that was when he told me to keep the card, not to give it to the better bird. So you know how everyone who loses the Red Bull community, they rip the cards off and put it in the trash can. So yeah, that's the part that I wouldn't say it offended me for real. Like I'm just gonna say offended.
No,
me
I know what you mean.
In a playful way, yeah.
Yeah, playful.
That's the part. That's the part that offended me, not the give it to the better bird, because when you're so worthless that they don't even want to take your card or don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
That's the part that offended me. So I was like, the better bird did not really get to me or anything. I mean, technically, AngryBird is the better bird, so. I'm not competing with him to win tournaments or something. We're both competing versus the world. If he does well, I'm happy for him. If I do well, he's happy for me as well. If you watch Red Bull Committee, when I beat him and they interviewed him afterwards, they were like, "Who do you expect to win?" And he was like, as soon as they asked him that question, he was like, "Of course, Big Bird's gonna win." Yeah. So we don't compete versus each other. I mean, obviously, unless we play in bracket, but we try to help each other when. Advice, suggestions, matchup approaches, stuff like that, and I feel like that kind of helps us. I mean, his time came. He won Evo. He won a couple of tournaments, and I don't think necessarily my time will not come. I feel like I do believe my time will come, but until then, I just gotta keep working to just learn from him, learn how he approaches tournaments and all of that. And we have a lot to learn from each other as well. How to approach matchups, how to approach tournaments. How to approach stressful environments, how to prepare well, and all of that.
Well, I honestly, I didn't know that you and him were going back and forth in the results. In my head, I thought it was like where you had the shine in the beginning from Street Fighter 4 because everybody knew who you were, and then leading into 5, your Ken was amazing, and then how he started to have better results by winning Evo. But I didn't know there was a back and forth like that.
There was back and forth. Every year it's
switched.
Either AngryBird or Big Bird year.
Yeah,
so 2019 was obviously my year because I had Evo second place. I had EGX double win. I had a couple of European ranking wins, and I had 5th place at TGS as well. So that year was basically my year out of the two of us. And then in 2018, it was his year basically. He got 5th at Capcom Cup. He won a Premier event, and he won a ranking event. I also won a Premier event, which is the Southeast Asian Major. So I feel like it was a bit competitive until he got to Capcom Cup, and he just got 5th place there. I mean 7th place. I think you played him that same tournament, right?
He beat me. Yeah, he beat me to make top 8.
Yeah, so that's when he was like, okay, he got the edge at the end of the year.
I see.
In 2019, I had the edge. 2022, I mean 2020, he had the edge. 2021, I had the edge. 2022, he had the edge by far. So that's how it goes basically between us.
I got you. Yeah. So next year technically is your year then. So you're winning. Capcom
Depends
Cup,
really.
Evo,
Depends on the patch.
Evo Japan. Hey, Rashid's kind of looking broken, but speaking of, no, Rashid is definitely that level 2. And the level 2 is crazy, man.
And nah, Rashid is really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously, one of the main reasons as to why I started this podcast was in order to talk to players that have had the experience, that are top players. We've known each other for many years. I wanted to have this podcast so we can talk about ideas, understanding one another, the complexities of the game, the mechanics, mental, all of that stuff. And the reason for that is because of the discourse that's usually had on X. It's typically very negative. It's very negative towards top players. And seeing the disrespect on Twitter, I used to engage in it, but I don't anymore. It feels pointless to me. Do you see any benefit of having these discourses on Twitter, whether it's you say something about a character and a random dude responds to it, or they quote tweet your tweet and then there's just a mob of tweets? I always see you actually responding to these guys. And I used to be somebody that did that as well, but I got sick of it because no matter what I said, it didn't matter. They had their specific views on me and nothing that I said was going to change that. So I I feel bad for you, and I see that you constantly engage with these people,
wait.
but help me understand,
Let me
like,
make
what
this
is the
clear
point of
first.
it? Like, what is the point?
Let me make this clear. First of all, we're gonna call it Twitter, not X. All
No,
right?
no, no. I like the sound of X better. No, X sounds X
Come
sounds
on,
better.
that sounds corny, bro. Anyway,
Not X. It sounds like a futuristic website. I don't know. It made sense to me.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Second thing is, when you see me, I wouldn't say arguing, but when you see me entertaining some of the people who are like disrespectful, whatever, I'm actually doing it with a smile on my face. I'm not getting heated at all. Like if you see me to type and tweeting this out, I'm doing this with a smile. Sometimes I'm laughing as well, because I would engage with someone who's trying to have a proper discussion without having condescending tone or trying to be disrespectful or whatever. I would like tell them my thoughts or whatever if they ask. But someone who comes in with a condescending tone or disrespectful whatever, then I entertain it by actually trying to, not taking it seriously. So someone told me yesterday when I posted that clip about Marisa, the stance anti-air, someone came in like there's no reason to be negative at all, right? It's a good tech. If you know it, good for you. If you don't know it, good for you as well. It's helpful. So someone came in and he was like, I know this guy. I know I had experience with him. He came in and he was like, wait, let me get what he said.
Yeah, pull it up. Pull up the
Yeah,
receipts.
he said works great till they go for a cross up and you shoot forward and they go behind you. Been there, done that. So I'm like, okay, what is his point exactly? First of all, he's doing it. My thought process at that when I read that was like, he's doing it wrong. Obviously, Marisa should never go forward or with, or trying to say been there, done that. That means he came up with this tech before, and obviously he's trying to like, what's the word for it? He's trying to show me that he knows more than me, and I'm like,
Yeah, I feel like a better, sorry to interrupt you, but you know how you mentioned like the condescending type of
yes,
response that people do? Rather than saying been there, done that, you could have just been like, hey man, I feel like when I do this in this situation, sometimes I go forward. What could I do better? Or what should I do if the cami starts doing this? Because this tech works, but if they start responding with this, I'm not sure what to do. Can you help me figure it out? That is how you approach.
Yeah, that's how he approached it. I would have definitely helped him. But you know what I responded to him with?
No, I didn't see.
I just responded to him with skill issue. That's it. That's all I responded to him.
Yeah.
Because I know these type of people, and I just thought stop, getting heated. There's no point. They're literally, I treat them, they're like NPCs. I don't get upset. I don't get heated. It's like, when you're playing Dark Souls and you just get through it, you just find someone standing there, you just talk to him and you leave.
Yeah, or you just like
literally
kill somebody on GTA. Like you're running and you just see somebody on the street, you just want to punch them in the face. Like that happens in NPCs, yes.
Yeah. So basically it's just someone passing by. I just treat them as someone that's passing by.
Yeah.
So I just respond to something, and then if whatever they respond afterwards, I'm not reading that. There was one other guy when this whole topic started with you and Reinhardt about older games being harder or something.
Yes.
Yes, and I responded with, if Third Strike had this much info today with better online and accessibility, there would be a lot of good players as well. So someone told me you would never touch RX, Hayao, all the Third Strike top players and Third Strike. I was like, of course I'm not gonna touch them. I don't play this game. And even if I decided to play it, I would have 1 or 2 years experience while they would have 22, 23 years of experience. There's no logical thing that would, I'm not delusional enough to think I would beat them. All right. And then he responded to me with, you played SF4, infiltration used to kill you or used to wash you. I'm like, okay, I guess it's time to get, to just make him look stupid. That's basically what I do. That's basically what I do when I try to entertain. Just make them look stupid. So I posted a quote tweet of me beating infiltration 5-0 with Ryu, and then they switched to Chun and I beat him 6-1. So I basically reset the bracket and beat him for the tournament in UAE. And I responded to that, and he was like, he didn't know what to say afterwards. He just started fumbling, just started double downing and all of that. He was saying, I didn't say you were trash. I just said that infiltration beat you. I'm like, okay, stop the double down. You literally implied that infiltration used to wash me with no competition.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you know what he did afterwards? After so many people started bashing him, started making fun of him, started trolling him, you know what he did?
He blocked
changed it. No, he changed his @ and stopped following me. So when you change your @ all the replies or the mentions that haven't mentioned in his old @ basically says that account doesn't exist anymore. So people would stop, harassing him or trolling him, whatever. So that's what he did. He just stopped following me and he just stopped responding and just changed his @ and just changed the subject.
It's very eerie how mentally ill some people are.
Like, what are you getting? Yeah.
Like, it's very creepy. A lot of these people will try to throw some fire your way, but and they wouldn't be able to handle the type of response back. Like, they try to send a mob, but if a mob comes after them, they quiver and they run and they hide because they can't face it. But it's easier to send a mob towards your way than it is to be dealing with a mob that's coming.
But that's the thing. Most of these people that try to do it, at least in my experience, they have like double-digit followers. Like, what mob are you gonna send?
Yeah.
Like, even if that was your objective, what mob?
It's the ratio. It's the ratio. It's because it's not so much of the people that follows them, but they know that they are part of the mob. They're somewhere in the middle of the mob that is more sardine in there. That's just packing it and making it bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh, this. Because a tweet doesn't have any eyes on it if it has 7 quote tweets. But a tweet that has 321 quote retweets and 400,000 views, that gets a lot of eyes. Oh, let me just make it 322 quote retweets. Oh, let me make it 323 quote retweets.
Yes,
they only have 7 followers, but that's how they think.
Some of them actually do get off on you quote tweeting them and making them look stupid, because that's the most attention they'll get out of any day on Twitter. So these people, I know how to spot these people, and I just don't entertain them. But if someone that's trying to at least if someone is trying to lie,
and you could just troll
like
them.
How he said infiltration used to wash me in SF4. That's when I try to put a stop to it, because I don't tolerate lies. Like, why are you lying? the results are right there. So. And there are other people where I feel like there's no hope. And no, if they get overly disrespectful, like they start being racist or ignorant or whatever, I just mute them or block them. That's it. I don't entertain those type of people. But usually, like people like that, when you see me engaging with them, it's not because I'm heated or I'm angry or something or I'm annoyed. No, my main purpose when I engage with them, entertain them, is to make them look stupid, to make them feel stupid. That's it. Like, I'm never heated. And there's a lot of people, by the way, that sometimes they come off as disrespectful or condescending on Twitter. But I literally met a lot of them. Like, for example, I met a couple of them in New York for Red Bull Community. And they come up to me and they were like, yo, sorry for that day. They mean to be disrespectful and all of that. So I don't take it to heart whenever someone is disrespectful one time or comes off as disrespectful. I don't take it to heart. And when he came to me and he told me, if you're sorry for that day, I was disrespectful and all that, I was like, no, bro, don't worry. I don't take Twitter seriously.
Yeah.
I don't take it to heart. Yeah. Unless they were super disrespectful. I mean, like racist, ignorant,
right.
Just saying names or whatever.
Well, I think it's important that you mentioned something about them approaching you. I think, let me clear it up. I didn't mean that you got, very upset. I was just saying, like the,
Oh, you
the
feel bad
engaging
for
with
me.
the people. No, yeah, that I felt bad for you because I know in my time I used to get upset because I would think, man, like why are these lies being said about me? Like I'm not that type of person, and I didn't mean it that way. It was just a tweet or whatever. Maybe I was young, and a lot of people would say things about me, and then obviously you learn to not care what anybody says about you. But I think the aspect of like I noticed that I was on Twitter too much and that I was constantly opening the app and responding to people too much. And then one day it finally clicked in my head that I don't have to respond to anybody if I don't want to respond to anybody, that they could say whatever they can, and I don't have to respond to anybody. But going to what you said about those people approaching you, I too have had those situations where somebody said something about me, and the important thing here is that if a man approaches me and says, yo, I just wanted to apologize for my actions and my behavior, I mean, no disrespect, like, you forgive me, then I, as a God-fearing man who sins every day, I will forgive that man, because that takes a lot of balls for you to admit that
Of
you're wrong and
course,
hold yourself accountable.
that's when I expect it more as well,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
holding yourself accountable, and then coming up to me and telling me that you're sorry or you fucked up during that day. I'm like, okay, I respect that.
You respect it.
That takes a lot of that takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of respect, and I can't say no, you fuck up, unless they were like overly racist or ignorant.
Right. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if it was just a simple discussion and they were condescending in that discussion, then yeah, I can forgive that. It's not. I don't take it seriously anyway.
Discussion. What would you like to see happen for players to have a voice in the community? Because I've talked about this with several other players as well, and I feel like obviously part of the disrespect that is being had on Twitter is because our voice for some reason doesn't seem to hold any weight into the direction that the game should go in, and it seems like the developers of these games want to make sponsors happy and the audience happy more than the actual players who are putting their game on the big screen and are able to play at the highest level, because nobody wants to watch a couple of rookies play Street Fighter. I'd much rather watch a couple of top professional players. But our voice, whether it's discussing on Twitter, whether it's making a suggestion as to where the game could go or what could be healthy, or even just bitching about it sometimes, to be honest, because this is what our lives are devoted to. It's always met with backlash. There isn't a space where we can actually talk about what you would like to see in the game, what kind of changes, and share ideas. Now, I've been thinking about future episodes where we could get in roundtable discussions with certain top players as well, which will be coming. But for now, what do you think can happen in order for us to have better discourse on X and maybe see more changes being made?
Okay, first of all, is to actually remove the idea of having better discourse on X, because as long as you're tweeting to the public, whatever your voice is, whether it's good, whether it's bad, there's always going to be someone or a certain amount of people that are going to say, no, you're wrong, disrespectful, and all of that. So I feel like that will never happen as long as it's public tweets. I feel like that will never happen. Like you could make a suggestion as simple as make drivers. I did say that. I did say make drivers reactable. And I had a lot of players or people coming up to me and telling me, you just want to kill the game. Some people are trying to farm impressions. Some people trying to, to say I'm wrong and it's a skill issue and all of that. So even saying something as simple as making drivers reactable.
You need to make drivers reactable. Hold on. You need to. That shit isn't like Kimberly can just do driver's crouch jab or Rashid driver's crouch short like that. You like even if you expect it and you're reacting to it, you still get counter hit. What the hell?
That's the thing. But I should have been clearer as well when I said what I meant with reactable. So basically, what I meant with reactable is if you're sitting there and you're only looking for the drive rush, like you're just sitting there and you're only looking for the drive rush, and you try to react to it, you should win. That's what I meant. I didn't mean like okay, the opponent's doing the drive rush, you're focusing on with punishing or jumping, and you see it and you press a button and you win.
That's
No,
drive
that's not what
impact. That's what drive
Yes.
impact is. We can react to
Yeah.
drive impact like that.
Yes. But drive rush, if I'm sitting there and I know you're gonna do it and I'm waiting for it and I still lose, I feel like there's something wrong. I feel like there should be no mix up when a drive. Like if the opponent is turning green and I press a button on time, I should be able to win. I should not be thinking about okay, the opponent is gonna drive rush and he's gonna do Luke back heavy punch and that's gonna beat my check. I feel like that's not really a good design because if why is an opponent putting me in a mix-up half screen just because he decided to say fuck it, I'm not playing neutral anymore?
Let me pause you right there. This is literally the final topic. So I might as well just introduce it and you can keep going. But the final topic of what I wanted to mention was what you would want to see changed in Street Fighter 6 and the potential buffs and nerfs that can happen to Marisa. But keep going with the drive rush because I'm in full agreement with what you're saying. It has been driving me crazy. No pun intended.
Yeah, so basically Luke, some characters like Luke, JP, um, who else is there?
DJ.
DJ, yeah, or Jury. So let's say DJ, you know he's gonna react. I know he's gonna drive rush. You're just sitting there, you're waiting. You have your buttons locked in. Your hands are hovering over the button. He drive rushes. You're like, okay, I read this correctly. I read this. So when I say I read this, that means I devoted all my energy into thinking he's gonna drive rush. So if he did dash or if he did jump or if he did whatever, anything else, I would lose to it. All right. So I literally devoted my energy and focus into just reacting to drive rush. So he drive rushes. I press semi punch as Marisa. He decides to drive rush, sway, kick. Then he takes 60% out of me. I'm like, what did I do wrong here? Like,
Nothing.
what did I do wrong? Was it wrong to react?
No.
Exactly. Like, was I supposed to stay there, sit there, and just make him drive rush full screen and throw me? Like, what am I supposed to do here? That's the part that kills me about drive rush. He should not be putting me in a mix-up just because he decided to stop playing neutral and just go in. All right? I feel like there should be more consequences on the drive rush. There should be a lot more consequences on the drive rush, and whether it's punish counter state, whether it's
2 bars.
no, I feel like 2 bars would probably kill the combo potential. Maybe they can do something when you have it within the combo, like when the combo count is active, then drive rush takes 1 bar instead of 2 bars, but when it's raw, it takes 2 bars. I don't know, but I don't.
Yeah, that's a
I don't
great
wanna
idea,
kill
actually.
I don't want to kill the pace of the game. But
Neither
at
do
least,
I.
yeah, for the love of wherever that is, like for the love of God, for example, if I'm sitting there and waiting and I press the button, I should not lose because I devoted my whole focus into reacting to stopping it. I should not be losing just because they decided to press a different button. That's the part that I don't like about Drive Rush. I don't like that mini game. And I don't know what can Capcom do. Maybe they could remove the hitbox shifting back or the hitbox expanding forward or whatever.
Or
Maybe they
them
could
not
remove
being
that.
able to do those moves in the state of drive rush. Like Luke can't do back heavy punch. Luke can't cancel drive rush into charge punch. DJ can't do sway when he's in drive rush.
I don't
think
know. No.
You could limit
Look,
that somehow.
something like, for example, if Luke does drive rush and heavy knuckle to beat my check, fair game. I don't mind that. I will be happy with that. I will take that because
okay.
first of all, he's putting himself in a risk by doing drive rush. Because if you didn't react and he did drive rush flash knuckle, you can either punish his uncharged one or you can drive impact his fully charged one. So he's putting his body on the line as well. But tell me how you're supposed to be drive rush suppressor. You have to swing either later, press the button later, or press a heavy button, and both of these would lose to drive rush jab or something. So, yeah, and both of them would lead to the same reward as well.
I think there's definitely a way where they can change neutral drive rush, whether it's by allowing it in the combo state or maybe taking 2 bars in neutral or making it punish counterable or just something. There is a way they can normalize that mechanic because it should not I honestly feel like that is the number one thing that they need to fix in Street Fighter 6, that they need to adjust in Street Fighter 6, because I love this game a lot and I think it's a very fun and good game. If they adjust neutral drive rush, what else could you even ask for in the game? There's maybe specific things, but I think that's the most important thing they need to focus on.
I think one thing they could do is probably add more scaling to whatever button comes out of drive rush. I think that you know how
That
when you
could
do
work
low
too,
forward
yeah.
drive rush, you know when you do low forward drive rush, your damage is very scaled.
Yes.
I feel like they could apply the same thing to that, and it wouldn't be an issue. Like if you drive rush jab, you know how when Street Fighter Five did normal into activation to V trigger, it counts
Yes.
as you just started with a jab. Like it
Yes.
counts as the two jabs.
Yeah.
I feel like that scaling could happen as well to raw drivers. Okay, he got the hit. He outplayed me. He got the hit. He should not be taking 60% off of me, as well as taking me to the corner, as well as getting OK on top of it.
Yeah.
That's the part I feel that's wrong.
That's a
At
great
least
change idea.
let them have one of the two. Let them have one of the two, not all three of them.
Do you agree that drive rush in neutral is the number one focus of Capcom to adjust Street Fighter 6 in a better direction?
That's the thing. I'm not sure if Capcom will go for, because if you look at Street Fighter Six, part of why it's so fun to watch is because of drive rush, because it makes the game fast paced, and
I'm just
fast
saying
paced.
from your perspective. I'm just saying from your perspective. Whether
Yes, from my
Capcom does it or
perspective.
not, do you think from your perspective as a top player in this game that that is the biggest issue you have with Street Fighter 6 and that it should be normalized more?
I have two issues. I have perfect parry
Of course.
and I have drive rush.
Yes. As we
I
all
feel
do.
like both require a bit of tweaks. I wouldn't say reworks, just tweaks.
Tweaks.
Just make them less rewarding or make them more riskier. One of the two, either riskier or less rewarding. Like perfect parry, you can't make it less rewarding. I mean, the damage is already scaled, so there's not much you can do. But what you can do to perfect parry is increase the recovery on it. If someone whiffs a parry, increase the recovery on it. If someone whiffs a parry, maybe remove 1 bar of his drive gauge. Like make it cost 1 bar if someone whiffs a parry instead of
Yeah.
it's half a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So add constant, make him lose a bar and put him in a penalty state if he was to drive, if he was what's it called, parry.
Like tap parry
drive
and
rush-
he can get
Yeah,
punished.
because right now you can tap parry from a certain range and there's nothing your opponent can do about it.
Correct.
You have to read it. You have to drive rush throw him. Another thing about drive rush is, when you do media kick drive rush, your drive gauge is actually locked. So you can't gain while you're doing the combo.
Yes.
Your drive gauge is locked. It doesn't regenerate back. I feel like that's something they should apply to raw drivers as well. If you raw drivers me and you get a jab or heavy or medium, whatever, your drive gauge should not be regenerating as soon as you get the hit. It should be
Great idea.
locked until you finish the combo. So that way, because there's a lot of moments where someone drive rushes and it puts him under 2.5 bars. But when he gets the hit and the combo, it regenerates back to 3 bars.
Three and a
then he
half
gets
bars.
on top of that, he gets 2 additional drive gauge cancels.
Yes.
So I'm like, does that really make sense? It doesn't really make sense. I feel like that's something they could do to it. So I would be happy if there was scaling added to it. More scaling. I would love to see more scaling. I would love to see punish counter state or just make it riskier to go for. And I would love to see the drive gauge getting locked when someone decides to raw drive rush. I would be happy with.
I want to ask this question more to more players that I interview as well, because I want to see if there is a consistency amongst all of us that where we agree in how to make the game better, not just for us to have more success, but for everybody to enjoy a bit more. Because I feel like people would enjoy the game more if that was toned down a bit more.
I enjoyed the game. Don't get me wrong.
and-
I love the game, but
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
also love for it to be more stability, or for you to be rewarded for what you're looking for.
for better play, because it actually helps the audience. It actually helps the players that are below average and average, because it allows them to see, where am I making the wrong decision here? Oh, this was reactable and I didn't react to it. Oh, this was punish countered state, and I could have gotten for this combo instead. It allows them to grow as a player and become better and have more success and consistency. What we're shooting for is consistency here, and what makes an overall better experience. So I definitely want to do that question again for the next few episodes. But I wanna end this episode, Big Bird, with how do you buff and nerf Marisa? Because this character is a bomb, and I hate fighting against her. You play a little different from Strider, and my experience against Marisa solely comes from Strider, and his neutral is amazing. But when I played you at SFL, uh, it was like a walking tank. Like I was getting put to the corner, and I hate this character. What? How do you nerf this character, and how do you buff this character?
So okay, so I feel like Marissa is very very delicate. Any wrong nerf or any wrong buff is gonna put her either broken tier or just literally trash. So I feel like the logical thing to nerf about her is basically the damage. I feel like if you nerf the damage, then the whole stigma of her being two touching you or one touching you is gone, and you can afford to make more mistakes. But if you're gonna take away her damage, then I would give her more stability. So okay, I'm not gonna kill you in two touches, but you're also not gonna knock me down that easily. Because right now she does kill you in two touches, but she also gets knocked down a lot easier compared to other characters. So
How so?
yeah,
Can
so
you go into that? How does she get knocked down easier than
so
other
she has a
characters?
bad walk speed, so she kind of has trouble navigating the low forwards. Like the low forwards are the most annoying matchups because I have a shitty walk speed, and it's very hard to walk in and outside of the range. And if you're playing passive against Marissa and you just keep walking back, and I walk forward with you, and then you decide to walk forward and press crouch mini kick, it's kind of hard to deal with that kind of play as Marissa because of the bad walk speed. But um and another thing is the anti-air. I feel like the anti-air part is definitely a crucial flaw, a major flaw in her game plan. She still has decent anti-air, not bad, decent anti-airs. The only issue is it does require focus on them. Like you can't just react anti-air based on muscle memory like how you do with DPs. You gotta look for the jump. You gotta stop everything you're doing, look for the jump, and then react. Part of why Jury is so annoying for Marissa out of any other characters because she has fast walk speed, she has low forward, very long range low forward.
Her
She has
longest,
an
she has
amazing
the
jump.
longest low forward.
Yeah, she has an amazing jump, which is the jump heavy punch, and then she has a drive rush, which is also a mix up in in one. So it's basically drive rush semi kick or drive rush crouch media punch. So looking at for all of these things at once, it makes it super hard to play versus Jury, and that's why this matchup is a bit difficult. But yeah, so if I wanted to buffer or nerf her or whatever, I would nerf the damage, obviously, but I would make her neutral more stable, like maybe a better faster anti-airs, um, maybe a buff to the walk speed. But I think that would be it. Like if she gets better anti-airs and she loses that damage, like she loses a bit of damage, I'd be happy with that. I don't mind. But then you have characters like Luke, who does, or DJ, that have the same amount of damage that Marissa does. I mean, almost,
Yeah.
but they have double the tools that she has. They have the best jump ins, they have the best movement, they have the best drive rushes, they have more options out of drive rushes, and all of that. So I feel like it's not really fair, you know?
She's in a delicate place.
Yeah, she is in a very delicate place, and it's kind of hard to nerf her. But if you put me in charge, I would nerf the damage, but give her better anti-airs.
Delicate and Marissa don't seem to go well together, but
Yeah.
it makes sense in this context. But Adel, thank you very much for being on this episode with me, man. I had a great time talking to you. We broke down a lot of deeply layered concepts, and I think the audience is gonna love this episode.
Hopefully, yes.
Where can people find you if they haven't found you already?
You can find me on BigBird_FGC on Twitter. You can find me on FGC space birds in YouTube. You can find me on FGC_birds on Twitch. You can find me on Instagram as well, Big Bird. Just write Big Bird FGC. You can find me on Instagram. But that'll be it. I think that's all. Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram.
To everybody listening, thank you very much. I hope you guys have a blessed day. If you liked the episode, like and subscribe, leave a comment below. I appreciate all of you guys for supporting Talking with T. This is the 10th episode, and I'm overwhelmed with the amount of positive feedback that you guys have given. So thank you guys for all the support. I love you all. God bless. Habibi, I'll see you next time at another tournament. Have a good one.
See you next time, bro. Thank you for having me.
Of course.